This mission is a nation building where we actually go in and work and mentor with the Afghan National Army, Afghan National Police.
I'll tell you what, once you go to combat with soldiers to your right and your left, the bonds between y'all become much stronger.
These soldiers are going to fight for our freedom, and the price of freedom is high.
And if one more soldier comes back home okay, comes back to his family because of my dad, then yeah, I think it's completely and totally worth it.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for A Call to Arms, our special report on the hundreds of local citizen soldiers who've been called to duty for more than a year in Afghanistan. I'm Michael Jordan. Currently, there are more than 300 Savannah area National Guard soldiers serving in that war-torn nation. When they were called up to go, communities throughout the coastal empire did their very best to let the soldiers know they were appreciated. From Springfield to Statesboro to the National Guard Armory here in Savannah, folks rolled out the red carpet to say farewell. In the midst of what will be, for many, the last long weekend with their families before heading to Afghanistan to help train that new nation's fledgling army, Statesboro guardsmen and women took time to reflect on the meaning of their mission.
200 years from now, the Afghans will feel that same freedom because of the sacrifices that their soldiers are making today. And we'll be there soon, training side by side with their soldiers, helping them find that way.
For now, the focus is on finding strength in family. 2 weeks ago, Staff Sergeant Brian Neal rushed home from training in Louisiana to witness the birth of his first son, Jack.
He hardly made it because he was out training in Louisiana, but he was able to come home on emergency leave and make it just in time. So
made it by 45 minutes. Got home from Louisiana. Emergency leave from Louisiana, left in the middle of the night, and made it back. And made it back by 45 minutes.
It's a new kind of army, with new moms deploying alongside new dads. Private First Class Melinda Odom's son, Jace, will be 2.5 years old when she returns from Afghanistan.
I take care of everything at home. I just think that's my job, and now he has to take care of it.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's different.
The community will certainly miss these citizen soldiers who leave countless families, employers, and friends behind. But one thing above all keeps these troops going.
We're very much a family and Alpha company, I know that. And I think that overall, most of the other soldiers would feel the same way. So it's definitely more than just a job.
From this little hometown here in Springfield, Georgia, we ask you, the God of heaven, to command for each soldier standing here an angel of protection. Amen.
To see these guys off, I saw them off during the Second World War, and they came out then, and they're our local boys. So.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left.
What goes through your heart and your mind when you see a march by today?
No, it's so much pride, so much pride. I think you have people that care that much to go and so we can all be free.
Order, arms.
It's important to show that we have all our veterans of all wars, County of Effingham and the United States of America, stand behind our troops that are fighting for our freedom right now.
This parade is for everyone, to remember that these soldiers are going to fight for our freedom, and the price of freedom is high. And what I mean by that is the fact that the spouses are left behind, the kids are left behind, and the sacrifice that they make to go and defend this country.
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Left, hook on. One, two, three, four, battery.
Just an opportunity for for us to give our appreciation to the families to be a part of this. We are a family organization, trying to just involve them as much as possible with the mission and with their individual soldier that's a member of this battalion.
You know, our citizen soldiers play an important role in the local community when they're out of uniform as well. Coming up after this, we'll feature 2 local Guard soldiers who play very important roles in the civilian world. Plus, saying goodbye. Learn how local troops make their last days at home count before they head off to Afghanistan. And later, it's all in the family, the startling story of the way the National Guard is a family in more ways than one. A Call to Arms continues right after this. You know, it's important to note that every National Guard soldier who's deployed to Afghanistan leaves behind more than just friends and family. They also leave behind employers and people throughout the community who are counting on them day to day. Here's a look at 2 of our National Guard soldiers who play very important roles in our community. Officer Andrew Huffman is by all accounts a well-respected police officer who knows his job and does it well.
In Mr. Huffman's case, he's just an outstanding patrol officer, very productive, detail-oriented.
26 Bravo 1, log me into service.
Huffman has been patrolling the streets of Savannah's downtown precinct with the Metro Police since the summer of 2007.
How you doing?
But now, his time in the patrol car is coming to a close as Huffman undergoes 2 months of training to prepare for a year in Afghanistan with the Georgia Army National Guard. Yet Huffman says his days on the beat in Savannah give him a leg up on that job, too.
Well, as far as paying attention to detail, learning people's mannerisms, all these things, this job is great at making you learn those things. Also, firearms. I handle a handgun every day. We have open range where we actually get to go and shoot our guns quite often.
Same thing, 5 to 7 round bursts, work your way across and up.
This Savannah cop turned Georgia Guard sergeant says even though Fort Stewart is only about 45 minutes away from his beat in Savannah, it feels like another country.
I'm definitely conforming to being a soldier again and not a cop. Being out here, it's a different mind frame. Like this week was St. Patrick's Day and everybody in Savannah was working hard and had to deal with the parade and all the other people that like to come down to Savannah for that, but I didn't have to. I was here, smelling the woods, living out here, shooting guns. This is a fun job. It's more about the other soldiers. I really love the guys I work with. I love when they learn stuff, when they achieve stuff, when we achieve stuff together. Any of our missions, our goals that we set forth, it's probably one of the greatest feelings that I've ever had.
Hey, Bobby, how are you? Good to see you.
This is probably the last time Captain Bob Harris will see his boss, Toby Moreau, at BB&T's headquarters in downtown Savannah, at least for the next year or so. Harris commands a company of soldiers headed to Afghanistan to help train the Afghan army. His co-workers at BB&T took the news about the upcoming deployment pretty hard.
I think a lot of things came home to not only myself, but our team here, that here is it brought things more personably to the team. We now seeing it firsthand.
In the day that I learned that he was going to be leaving to go to Afghanistan, we were in the office and it felt like a family member had died. I'll never forget that when it hit home for me with him. I did not want to see him go.
Harris is fortunate to work for a large corporation which will honor its commitment to him when his deployment is over. But more than that, he's blessed to have a family of co-workers who will look out for his wife Amy and their son Bob Jr. during Bob's absence.
I'm gonna get you. Oh, they are awesome. Like yesterday, we went in the morning because we had to do some banking ourselves, and we went in and they were just like, call me anytime if you need help, or they're just really nice people.
Oh, it's incredible to know that you have something to come back to, and you have somebody that, other than just your family that supports you in the rear. And I tell you, it makes you so you concentrate on your mission over there the entire time you're over there. I know, a lot of the guys, even though they're not thinking about employment now, but I tell you, about 90 days from coming home, they're going to say, well, heck, how am I going to support my family after I get home? And it's reassuring knowing that that's taken care of.
In its own way, that support is a powerful weapon for the troops on their way to Afghanistan. Saying goodbye to people you care about for a year would be stressful under any circumstances, but it's especially so when you're headed to war. Each of the more than 300 Georgia National Guard soldiers headed to Afghanistan from our area has to find his or her own way to make those last moments with their loved ones count. Crystal and Danny Sanchez of Port Wentworth have their hands full with 6 kids and a grandchild to raise. So when Danny was called to Afghanistan with the Georgia National Guard, it put that responsibility squarely on Crystal's shoulders.
The biggest part is trying to get the kids ready. It's mainly focused around the kids because that's my biggest concern right now.
Just trying to get packed up, get the training done over at Fort Stewart. To make them happy and to let them know what's going on, I tell them I'm going to go play Army.
Crystal got a camouflage daddy doll for each child, with Danny's picture inserted in the clear plastic face, and the children also wear special dog tags they call Army necklaces.
I love my daddy, my hero.
I love my daddy, my hero.
There you go.
Captain Tim Tatum, an officer in Danny Sanchez's unit at the Statesboro Armory, spent his last weekend at home having family photos taken in Forsyth Park. Tatum got back in uniform at age 47 after more than a decade in the civilian world, motivated, he says, by the younger men he saw repeatedly sent off to war.
Kind of chuckle that I'm the newest, oldest captain in the Georgia Guard. Even though I'm not in my 20s anymore, as I told my wife, I'm not dead yet. I think I still have a good game left in me, so to speak.
Tatum's son Alex, a senior at the University of Georgia, deals with the upcoming deployment in his own way.
I've already run the whole gamut of emotions. First you hear, and I mean, I'm obviously, I'm a little concerned, my father's going off to war. I mean, that's, yeah, it can be a bit disconcerting, if he can go over there and if one more soldier comes back home, okay, comes back to his family, because of my dad, then yeah, I think it's completely and totally worth it.
Follow me, come on guys.
As they leave behind family and friends, our local citizen soldiers must still go through a grueling set of weeks of training for their mission in Afghanistan. When A Call to Arms continues, we'll have a look at what that training entails. Plus, find out why some Georgia National Guard soldiers won't have to leave all of their family behind when they head to Afghanistan. And later, this won't be the first time our local National Guard troops have headed into harm's way. Far from it. We'll take you back in time for a look at their long history in uniform. Stay with us. Training for war is serious business. Now, it's obvious that the swamps of central Louisiana and the piney woods of southeast Georgia are a long way from the windswept plains and snowy mountains of Afghanistan, but these stateside locations still provided a wonderful training ground for our Georgia National Guard soldiers. A convoy of Georgia National Guard vehicles rumbles down a dusty dirt road in Afghanistan in the dark of night. Out of nowhere, the blast of a roadside bomb shatters the stillness, leaving soldiers scrambling to return fire and fix a broken vehicle all at the same time. This simulated attack actually took place at the Joint Readiness Training Center, or JRTC, in Fort Polk, Louisiana. The JRTC trainers have gone to great lengths to make the training realistic.
Follow me, come on guys.
When you look at the type of mission that we're going to have in Afghanistan, Fort Polk was probably, I would say, probably the best choice we could have made as far as a place to train up at.
The troops are put through their paces here, dealing with interpreters, interrogating suspects, learning to assess an ever-changing situation and do their jobs in a place where Americans often aren't wanted and can't ever let their guard down.
Why do you have a map marking your own house on your own village?
Definitely times have changed for that infantry soldier. No more just a bang, 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 shoot them up and come home, we're done.
You know, it's not that uncommon to hear the families of National Guard soldiers say, "I wish I could go with my loved one to see what it's like where they're serving." Well, for some family members, it's not just a wish, it's a reality, because they're in uniform too. Meet Specialist Timothy Hollingsworth Jr. and Sr., both members of the 118th Field Artillery, both headed to Afghanistan.
But the stress of being there, knowing what's going on, knowing what he's actually going through, it's a whole lot less to be able to see it firsthand than it would be sitting at home not knowing.
he's my dad, but you know, I'm an adult now. We're friends, you know, but we're the best of friends you could have. You know, I know that out of anybody I can trust him, and I know he's going to be there for me. And that's the real difference maker.
In some cases, service in the Georgia National Guard goes back more than just 1 or 2 generations.
We want the youngest generation, the new current generation, to understand how much we appreciate their service.
We'll show you how local veterans honored our Afghanistan-bound guardsmen. A Call to Arms continues right after this. Welcome back to our special report, A Call to Arms. You know, our local National Guard units have histories that go back not just decades, but more than 2 centuries. In fact, they've served honorably in conflicts from the American Revolution through the Civil War, all the way through both World Wars and Vietnam. The Chatham Artillery, which encompasses the active Savannah-based units of the 1st Battalion, 118th Field Artillery Regiment, dates back to the 1750s. During President George Washington's visit to Savannah, the Chatham soldiers fired salutes with the famous Washington guns, relics of the Revolution now displayed on Bay Street downtown. Other treasures from the Chatham's past are collected in a special room at the Armory on Eisenhower Drive. But the Chatham Artillery is more than just a proud name. It's also a living organization made up of men who have served in that unit during more recent conflicts. On an evening prior to the mobilization of most of Savannah's Guard members, the soldiers' predecessors honored them with a special dinner at Carrie Hilliard's restaurant in Southside Savannah.
We want the youngest generation, the new current generation, to understand how much we appreciate their service.
Before dinner, officers of the Chatham Artillery's Veterans Organization pinned a lapel pin on the uniform of Specialist Adam Andrews, one of the 118th's young soldiers.
Well, it's history. I mean, whenever I go over there and return safely with the pin, then I'll be a part of that history, and that's an awesome honor to be able to say I was a part of.
The dinner was an opportunity for soldiers past and present to make connections that will last a lifetime.
Are you proud of them?
I am. Believe me, I am. I've never met a better group of young men than I have tonight right here.
There's a commonality, a common thread of those who have served, especially those who have served in combat. That's something that's a bond among any veteran. It's different times, different war, but I think what it takes to be able to stand that line hadn't changed.
Welcome back to our special report, A Call to Arms. The deployment of more than 300 local National Guard soldiers to Afghanistan for more than a year affects more than just the soldiers and their families and employers. It affects all of us throughout the community, whether we know these soldiers personally or not. In fact, Governor Sonny Perdue and top Guard officials from all over the state came to Macon in late April for a big send-off ceremony just to show these soldiers how much they mean to us and how we're all praying for their safe return. We leave you now with a look at that ceremony, and we remind you to join us next month for the next installment of A Call to Arms as we take you on the ground to Afghanistan where our soldiers are serving. We'll see you then.
Thank you, troops.
And it just lets the soldiers and families know that, hey, we're here for you if you need us, and you're always going to be in our thoughts and prayers while you're gone, and we're going to be waiting for you when you get back home.
And our prayer and our hope as we wish them Godspeed is that I can stand before them in a year and welcome every single one of them back home.
For the land